Do you remember? James Watson? He's the co-discoverer of DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was probably the most famous living scientist in the world. And he started talking about race differences in IQ, and he concluded that perhaps black people, for genetic reasons, are less intelligent than whites. Now, you may recall that he was absolutely pilloried. All the white people practically in America got on his back and said, no, 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 you can't talk about that. And he lost his job, he lost all kind of his prestige, he's disappeared from sight. That will happen to just about any white person in America, no matter how prominent, no matter how prestigious. If he starts talking about racial differences in IQ, out the door. He is considered a moral pariah. Why is that the case if we really are all white supremacists anyway?
Well, the thing is, the whole intelligence thing, or the IQ thing, it's used by white supremacists to justify the maldistribution of resources and the mistreatment of people.
Exactly. So that should be part of American dogma, right?
Really? Like,
well, wait.
I don't understand. Elaborate on that.
As you say, if the idea is that black people are less intelligent than whites, and that justifies what you say, the maldistribution of wealth in the United States, why is it that someone that makes that argument about racial differences in IQ is considered a demon and a pariah and is shoved out of respectable society?
Well, because usually they have blatant white supremacist views anyway, and they're just using IQ and all that stuff to justify. See, the IQ thing, that thing started really with Nazi Germany.
You're not answering my question.
I'm trying my best. I'm trying to answer your question, but I'm telling you, the IQ thing was started in Nazi Germany.
That's not true.
Be justified to harm people who were classified as non-white then. Yes, it was. No. They used IQ to justify putting people in concentration camps. Yes, they did.
Wait, IQ goes back to before the First World War. That's before Nazi Germany. Sanford Binet, the Binet test, that goes way back before the Second World War. But my point is this. If, as you believe, the ideas about racial superiority and inferiority are used to justify white dominance over blacks, why is it that anyone in the United States today who openly talks about racial differences in IQ and talks about the lower black IQ becomes a social pariah? Why?
Because it's not true. That's why, and it can be debunked.
What? But you say all the white supremacists believe it.
Jared, but it can be debunked. That's the problem. See, that's what the clash is. It can be debunked. Like, Jared, I've heard you say that black people have a low IQ and there was nothing in Africa, and black people didn't have two-story buildings, and there was no will, and they couldn't tame beasts of burden. So all that stuff is so easily debunked. This is why people, a lot of times when they take these white extremists, we look at them as pariahs because that information is just not true.
But wait, if it is not true and everyone knows it's not true, then okay, maybe there are a few benighted goofballs like me who haven't got the message yet, but if it's generally accepted as not true, then that completely blows apart the justification for white supremacy, right?
No, it doesn't, because enough people believe that. Enough people believe it's true. And the people who want to believe it's true are the white supremacists, because that's part of the religion of white supremacy. So anything negative about black people to justify the mistreatment and dominance.
Okay, and those people are the most powerful people in the world.
Yes, they are, the white supremacists.
Okay. Then if the most powerful people in the world believe this, surely one of them, or maybe even two of them, perhaps even three of them, would have come to James Watson's assistance when he started talking about race and IQ. How come not one of them put his head above the parapet and said, hey, Watson's right?
Well, they might not have done it publicly, but there's an old saying that white supremacists don't get fired, they get transferred. So they probably—
Is that an old saying? Oh, I've never heard it before. But that's
heard that one? Yeah, white supremacists don't get fired, they get transferred. He's fine. He's somewhere, somebody's taking care of him. Whenever a white person does something and they get fired or they get called a pariah, they get money raised somewhere. Somebody's going to look out for them. So the white supremacists, they know not to let one of their own fall.
Hey, I hate to break in here.